You can't believe what you read. We must be self-educated. Only way to break the matrix is...
Hi guys, how you going? Campbell here from Autodidactic Channel. Hope you're having an amazing day. And today I just wanted to have a talk about 2020 and what's going to happen. It's been a big start to the year already. There's already been all this stuff going on and we're not even through the first month. So I just thought I would touch on it. Excuse me. So to start with, the last 2 weeks I've got a bulged disc. Don't know how. It just popped out. Sciatica down my leg, and it literally put me in bed for 7 or 8 days. I could hardly walk. It was pretty intense. And then on top of that, I actually got gastro as well over a sort of 4-day period. So I pretty much lost 8 days. I was in that that twilight zone for a while. So I had a lot of time to think, a lot of stuff happening, and yeah, it was like a cleansing or something. I still can't walk properly. I'm almost back. But yeah, it was a good start to the year, I think, because it just stopped me, slowed me down, made me think, made me look at what was going on, and there's a lot going on in 2020. So obviously 2020, everyone's saying 2020 vision. It's a year that, the veil lifts and we can start to see more clearly. So to start with, I just wanted to touch on the Australian fires. Now, they're still burning. They were obviously, horrendous over Christmas at the end of last year. Now, I'm on the west coast of Australia. Most of the fires are, they were down the east coast. We have had a few. We actually had one yesterday around Perth in the hills. The main thing is the government have been putting ads on the TV and the radio, and they're basically saying, watch out, fire's coming. Fire can start anywhere at any time from anything. When there's a fire, it can jump hundreds of meters and burn your house down. All these things are really building up the fire. Be scared of fire, and also they're starting to program people that all these weird things are normal. Fire's just starting for no reason and houses burning for no reason. They're trying to get this programming out there to get people to think that this is just normal. And for the last 3 years or so, at least, in Australia, instead of summer, they've started calling it bushfire season. So they're programming people to get ready to expect fires in summer. So that's one thing that's quite disturbing. Obviously, it's happened, not just in Australia. We've had California a few years ago. We've had wildfires, in Spain and Europe, Amazon forest. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. And on from that is Max Egan. So if you don't know Max Egan, he's been a truth seeker. I don't really like the word truther. He's been a searcher online for, he's been on YouTube since 2007, I think. He was covering the fires a lot in Australia, and he was getting a lot of attention from the world, all over the world. I think he doubled his subscribers over a few months. He was up over a couple of 100,000. Then Max disappeared for a week, and there was rumours that he'd been arrested by the police and taken away, and he was in lockup. No one heard from him, and then he popped back one day, and his first video was a 6-second video of him just saying the earth is flat. Now, Max Egan has never been a flat earther. He's always said, he's not really a ball earther either. He's always said the earth is something different to what we think it is, but he's always maintained that it's not flat. It is actually spinning through space, but he believes it's not what we think it is. And then he's come out and just said the earth is flat, and then he followed that up by a video. It was about half an hour, which was very strange. So if you haven't seen it, it's been taken down now. I actually have a copy of it, so I might put it up on BitChute. Let me know if you want to have a look at it. And yeah, he basically came out and he was not making sense. He was saying some strange things. He said that Max Egan wasn't his real name. He said that we should stop researching. We should stop researching because, you know, the parasites are these energy spirit being, you know, different, you know, energy sort of beings that are feeding off us. And he was saying that they feed off our aha moments, and so that we should stop researching and getting those aha moments. And then he went on to say the Earth is flat, and lots of other stuff that was quite incoherent. He was sort of going on about he was the one, and that the world, that there was another reset very imminent, and that we should get above or below the 33rd parallel. And he started going on, you know, like he gave this message and said that we should all write it down on bits of parchment and hand it on to people in the future that we felt should have it, and tell them to hand it on, and that there was a reset and we need to get information through the next reset. It was very strange, very rambling, a bit incoherent. And it kind of broke the internet too. Everyone started losing their minds, and obviously all the flat earthers jumped on board, you know, yeah, Max is a flat earther, and all these other things, you know, like, yeah, there was a lot of people commenting on it. And then it was about 2 days later, I think, he came out with another video, maybe the next day. He was making a bit more sense, and he kind of started toning down what he'd said, and then he's put another one out, and he's basically, what he said was he was in bed and a light came down and shone in his face and gave him a download, basically. So he got this downloaded message, and that's why he thought he was, you know, the Earth was flat and he was the one, and he had this message he had to get out, and he said he really felt compelled to make that video, like he had to do it. And then later on he said that he thinks that light, he doesn't think it was a spirit or anything, he thinks it was technology because it was square, it was a square light. And he said that he wasn't quite asleep, and so he thinks he sort of escaped, you know, the long-term programming, and he only sort of got short-term programming. But it's very interesting what he says, because we hear these stories, you know, quite often, and literally they're back in history too, with, you know, beings coming down, spirits, angels. They're always white lights. They always give people a message. A lot of people, you know, after these things, they completely change their lives and they walk around as preachers and things. And then we have like the alien abduction is the same thing. Lights coming down, people being taken up, given different messages. And then we have, you know, a lot of people have had that same experience just randomly, and saying they end up in, you know, rooms, or they end up in surgical things, not necessarily UFO related, but more, you know, FBI black man kind of stuff. So, you know, what happened to him is he got a point, because like I said, we can't really, you know, I you know, trust Max, and he's a good, you know, researcher. I've got no reason to not believe him. And when you put this next to all this other stuff, and, you know, people who go crazy and you know, all these gun shootings, and people who believe they're the Messiah, you know, all this kind of stuff, where does it come from? You know, is this some technology that we don't know about? Because we know about that they've got the technology to actually send voices into your head, and you can be walking down the street and get these voices, and a lot of people think that they are their own thoughts. So they have this tech out there, and it looks like they might be using it on people who are getting the truth out, because like I said, Max, you know, got on a lot of people's radars very quickly, and then bang, you know, and he really only started the fires maybe October last year, so it wasn't that long, a couple of months, and then this happens. So I found that interesting. Like I said, let me know if you want to upload that video. It's I'm not sure how relevant it is now, but it's interesting, just from the perspective of he was programmed with some information. So how nefarious are these parasites? You know, I mean, we know they start wars and genocide, so, you know, what will they stop at? Now, another thing was Static in the Attic came out a couple of days ago, and not the same kind of thing, but had a bit of a ranty video, and basically said he was quitting Mudflood. I'm not really sure what that means. I just consider myself as a searcher, history searcher, not necessarily a mudflood or anything. Obviously that's part of it. But he was sort of going on and saying that there's shills everywhere and that it's being taken over. Didn't didn't really give a lot of points. He seemed to be pointing to the Antiquitech kind of stuff, saying, you know, stop putting out the Antiquitech stuff until you've got proof. And he was sort of saying that people are not showing full photos, and he was showing a photo that looked Antiquitech-y, but it was actually steam-driven, and he was going on I think he was just basically saying everything was steam-driven. Then he showed a video he did of an old fort, a Spanish-built, what we're told is a Spanish-built fort, I think on the coast, maybe California. And he was saying that that wasn't built by the Spanish, and then he's come back and said, look, it was definitely built by the Spanish. So he's kind of changed his tune a bit. But, I mean, he's a good researcher, and he was kind of saying he just wants to get back to the solid research, and that he thinks there's too much stuff going on in Mudflood, and he said he's going to delete all his videos and start again. So that was interesting, and what he said is his big sort of aha was what he sort of discovered was that this 2020 is there's a big alignment on December 21st, 2020, and it's I can't remember, it's three of the planets, Jupiter, Mercury, something else, and it's this big planetary alignment that's supposed to cause all these different changes. Static has done a lot of research, and he's linked it up to cataclysms in the past, and so he thinks that that's going to be the start of the cataclysms that are coming. As far as 2020, back in 2012 we had the whole Mayan prophecy, and that was supposed to be the end of the Baktung, the cycle. Obviously the end of a cycle is also the start of a cycle. They talk about, I think it was fire, the end of this cycle is fire. And so obviously, 2012, a lot of people were losing their minds, going, the world's going to end. There was a lot of information out around before that date. If you did your searching, that basically said it wasn't, the years were out. We know that the years are out and the calendars are out. So we knew that was out at least by a few years. Then we've got this whole alternative chronology thing. So, it's hard to know dates, but a lot of people have said that 2020 is actually the year this year. And so the 21st of December is where there's going to be great changes. Now, like I said, Static said he thinks it's going to be bad. Martin Kenny, who's another pretty good researcher, he does a lot on flat Earth, but also cosmology. And he says that it's going to be a big year, but he says on that date it's going to be good, a lot of good change. So people are saying there's, and a lot of people, other people have mentioned this, so something is going to happen at the end of the year. And I guess the way I look at it is we create our reality, so it's probably up to us to decide what that change is going to be. And what else did I want to mention? I've got a few points down here. So a lot's going to happen this year. A lot has already come out this year. A lot of, disclosure type stuff is coming out. A lot of new information. A lot of people have been, I'm not just sure if it's just me and what I'm sort of bringing to my awareness, but I see a lot of people, a lot of the sort of researchers out there and content creators are really starting to look at who are the controllers, who are doing this, what are they? And like we have Max Eigen coming out saying that they're parasitic energetic entities, which obviously we've heard that a lot. Archons, I tend to agree with that. Then we have, obviously Static says, that he sort of just went humans, they know what's going on. We have all these other people coming out. Global Vision came out, the same kind of stuff. He's done some interesting work as well lately on this. He says that he thinks that they're from another dimension and they're insect-based, based on his research and vision. So we've got all this stuff coming out. Focus on who actually are the people in charge, who's doing this to us, who's done this in the past, who's creating all the world, our reality. And just a side note, the way they do this, guys, is we're the power. We create with our thoughts. Whatever we believe and whatever we can see in our mind, we create whatever you can see in your mind, you can hold in your hand, as they say. So how they manipulate us is the media. That's their main thing. Before that, it was the lack of information. And so everyone just had one source of information, which was, of course, the parasites, the people in control. Now we have the media. So what they do with the media is they try and get us all to focus on the same thing. That's what the news is for, so that we all focus on the same thing. And as you'll notice, the news is always bad news. So they want us to focus on the bad things that they create. The war, the famine, the poverty, the violence, the theft, all this stuff, the division, and they want us to believe that we're fighting each other, that they're not there. It's just a game. And basically, so the more we focus on the negative, the more we create the negative, the happier they are. So this is why we need to really just shrug off all the programming, get that 2020 vision and focus on what we want. What world do we want to create? It was Buckminster Fuller, was it? Yes, I believe it was Buckminster Fuller, who quoted, and I am paraphrasing, but basically he said, to create a new world, you don't need to fix the old one, you need to go ahead and create a new world and let the old one fall away. And I totally agree. Now, I wanted to touch on something that is a bit disturbing, quite disturbing. I'm not sure if you've heard about this. I only sort of heard about it yesterday through John Levi, and there's been someone on Twitter found a website that is called Glamis Calling, and this is an extremely interesting, strange, weird, bizarre website. So I'm going to put some links to some videos below, including John Levi's, just so you can have a look. I'll link up the other, Martin Kenny's videos, Global Vision, Statics, all that kind of stuff, so you can check them all out. But I'm going to switch to computer mode, and I'm just going to show you a bit of what has been found. And this has all come out since about January 10, I believe, and it'll probably blow your mind. So let's get into it. Okay, so this is a website. I don't think I'm going to put the link in the description just because of the kind of website it is. I don't really want it associated with my channel. It's called glamiscalling.org, glamiscalling.org. So it's basically glam is calling. Now Glamis is actually a castle in Scotland, so it's Glamis Calling. Now Glamis is actually a castle in Scotland, so it's Glamis Calling, and it says to the far corners of the world. So what is this site? And as you can see, it's a WordPress site. So I need to look into WordPress too, because this stuff is pretty freaky. I'm going to read this. Welcome to the information portal. This site serves as the official external communication vehicle for the World Governing Council and the Wetton Upper Chamber. If you've been directed here for instruction, note that most messages are intentionally obscure. If you have difficulty understanding a particular message, you may reach out to Luxembourg Cathedral on Node 9 of the Forgotten Frequency. After authentication, you may receive additional instruction in the upper chamber. We often say, debate is required, respectful dissent is allowed, and betrayal is death. Bear this in mind as you read the instructions written herein. By the time information is posted here, the debate is over and dissent has been noted. Best regards, Somerset Bellenhoff. And we have a picture here. I don't know. Someone with magic. Okay, so who is Somerset Bellenhoff? I'm just going to do a search for that. Now, here's a post. Let us for a moment speak plainly, for it is not often in these turbulent times when we can speak openly about such things. Likely the time will come again, soon, when we will move back to the shadows, for there is yet much work to do. For now, though, many are awake and listening, so we may continue our exchange openly. Your adversaries will not understand, and even if they read the words would be meaningless to them. In these last few years you have awakened, you have risen up and created great change, and you have resisted tyranny. You have turned in, and your vibratory frequencies have become heightened. Make no mistake though, the change did not make you, rather you made the change. Recently, a lovely angel said, "Do they know we've learned to decode?" Yes, you have. It's quite evident that you've become proficient at solving puzzles. But please remember, your strength is not in solving puzzles. Your greatest strength may be your love of all that is good, your love of freedom, and your inherent belief that tomorrow will be better than yesterday. By contrast, the greatest weakness of your adversary is that they have lost the ability to love anything outside of themselves. In their hubris, they are asleep, and asleep they have no awareness whatsoever that their habitat is receding. Swamp striders asleep and rendered deaf by their own spell. And meanwhile more judges are appointed, while swamp striders hiss and yowl at every tweet. They are blind to the good that prevails. Your advocate is a great distractor, and your adversaries are very easily distracted. Be of good cheer and keep your eyes open. Posted January 16, 2020. Now this has posts going back. So January 2016. Now this is coded, and even though that may have sounded like some of that may have sounded like a nice message, that's code. Okay, because when you understand who these people are, now you may have picked up World Governing Council, and Wetton Upper Chamber. The Wetton Upper Chamber is something that people who sort of get in deep into conspiracies would know about. It's actually, Wetton is actually a very big family in the Royals, a very, one of the elite families. The Windsors are actually part of it. They've married into it, and the Wetton are basically the top of the chain as far as all of these parasites and parasitically controlled people go. I mean, there's just, you can, like I said, you can check this out, glammyscalling.org, and just read. Some of these things are just strange. Juberus Power Station. System integrity review is complete. Q Capricorn uploads on Arundel frequency. Geronimo node and reload to Cathedral. Reload this slide com to Rogers Dry Lake and provide Overwatch for Durango Jubilee Tesla. This is all code. There was one down here. Now this is a strange one. You'll see more of this. Hamlin, we shall never forget. It is 735 years since our children left. That obviously is the Pied Piper of Hamlin. And it was posted on the date that is June 26 is the date that he allegedly stole all the children. If you don't know the story, it's in Germany, a town. They got overrun with rats, so they got this guy in to get all the rats out. He had a magic pipe or something, played it, took all the rats away, came back for his pay. The town refused to pay him, so he paid his threat again and took all their children away, never to be seen again. But there's actually one down here, look, Australian federal elections. The World Governing Council supports Scott Morrison for PM. Post, congratulations on your upcoming victory, for it is assured. He is now the Australian Prime Minister. Okay, so you can check this out. It's very strange. Like I said, there's all these, if you click on these dates, there's just posts going back a couple of years. All very weird stuff. Bit freaky. Might close that off, but when you start looking at, and I'll show you why, because when you start looking into this, it's pretty freaky. So this is, I'm bringing up a site called whoissomersetbelanov.com. So if you go to Glammy's, Glammy's Calling, just highlight her name and do a search for it, and it should be the first one that comes up, because there's not a lot about her. We have a few things. Elaborate hoax, of course. Stolen history, Somerset Belanov, who is she? So there's a few things starting to come out. This here is the only known picture of her. These are, I believe this is her granddaughter, daughters and nieces and things, but there's not much. It's only just sort of starting to come out. So if we go to Somerset Belanov, or who is somersetbelanov.com, you'll find this website. It's a fairly new website. It says January 13, 2020, we are back online after experiencing a temporary disruption. Within hours of our site becoming inaccessible, we were not able to access our website. One of the researchers for this site received a text message that read, "Your site is down. Kindly remove the photo of Zara Tabriza from your staff tab and remove the reference to Talia Sunnett." We've done that and we apologise to our readers for the disruption. We don't believe we would have been able to come back online if we hadn't complied. It's worth noting that the researcher who was contracted via text had only recently obtained the phone, and it was a burner number. So how did they get that number is what they're saying. No one should have had it. So the purpose, our mission is to provide the public with as much information as possible related to Somerset Belanov, Countess of Banbury and Arran. She is the third cousin of Queen Elizabeth II, and she is also the current head of the World Governing Council, as well as the Chief Executive Officer of the World Security Office. She sits unchallenged atop the Illuminati hierarchy, and she rules with an iron fist. She has consistently demonstrated a willingness to track down and destroy those hostile to her agenda. Her motto is, "Debate is required, respectful dissent is allowed, betrayal is a death sentence." Within the realm of world governance, there is no one who wields more power. Now, it has a bit more down here on her, and then it says, how do we get this information? So it says, through diligent sleuthing, cajoling witnesses, and sometimes using the services of private investigators, we've managed to collect sufficient information to construct what we feel is a respectable, though admittedly incomplete narrative. Primary sources of information include, but are not limited to, speeches given by Miss Belanov herself, emails exchanged, interviews with her staff, people who interacted with her, candid commentaries by the Windsor family, discussions with private citizens, information resulting from work performed by her, for her, and comments made by Miss Belanov to journalists. It then goes on to say, who are we? We are professional researchers, attorneys, teachers, Interpol investigators, journalists, security specialists, and professional historians, scattered throughout the globe who share an interest in Miss Belanov and her influence in the space generally referred to as the elite or Illuminati. We seek to better provide understanding of the forces that shape our daily lives. Much of the so-called information online is intended to lure the viewer in for the sake of advertising, that is clickbait. Likewise, a lot of what is presented on social media is to frighten, inflame, or advance a cause of hatred against one group or another, while offering only the same tired tropes that have been trotted out over the past 200 years. It is our hope that we can share a more accurate view of the forces working behind the scenes, and to that end we offer first-hand verifiable information rather than innuendo or fantasy. A bit more down here about how they research. I'll let you read that yourself. Now it says, email hack reveals monitoring of online activity. And if you click down here, and this is all on this site, who is Somerset Belanov. They have as much information as they can as far as their evidence. So if we hit this, I found this quite interesting. This is re-monitoring YouTube to Somerset Belanov. Dear Lord, from Somerset Belanov. Dear Lord Francis, this email confirms that we have received the Capricorn uploads for the following YouTube content owners. Daniel John Lee, I'm not sure who that is. Military Tribunal updates, I'm not sure who that is. And David Wilcock, I know who David Wilcock is. All of these are interesting because they appear to be self-generated. In other words, none of these content creators were ever paid by the Wet and Disinfo team. I've instructed Group 13 to review the content and to do a historical review of the principles to ensure none of them are connected to or derived from any of the entities on the Wetton payroll. If we determine that any of these content creators are in fact on the payroll, we need to ensure that it is discontinued immediately, as none of them are on message with approved content. Some of it is approved, that is significant focus on Rothschilds, Clintons, etc., but overall this looks like it is self-generated. I've reached out separately to Sir Randolph and instructed him to add his review as a follow-up discussion. item for the World Governing Council in July. On a side note, I don't believe any of these are connected to the rogue faction of the lower chamber. All three of the above contain content that is extremely hostile to the elite, but it appears to be directed at entities such as the Trilateral Commission, Bilderbergers, the Catholic Church, international bankers, and of course the Clintons. From a world governance perspective, they are all low-level players, and frankly, the content for the Clintons is well earned. As long as they are not connected to Project Abelwolf, that is connected to the Gravier, Wallenberg or Berezovskis, I'll issue an all-clear order in the July meeting. So you can read the rest of that yourself. So that's interesting, David Wilcox. And yeah, it's all interesting, you know. So how do I get rid of this? What I would say, you know, this, you know, take it for what you want. A lot of people are saying this is all false. But when you look into it and when you start reading in, the connections really start to pour in. They just do. So this is the Illuminati Queen, Somerset Belanoff. Fun facts. Somerset Belanoff, the Countess of Banbury of Arran, chairs the World Governing Council. She is the registered owner of the Bohemian Grove domain and is likely the owner of the actual property. She attended Benedon School, of which Princess Anne is also an alumnus. Vladimir Putin has said that the Countess of Banbury and Arran is both the most beautiful woman and the most terrifying person he has ever met. She rules the Wetton House upper chamber with an iron fist. Early childhood life: Elizabeth Somerset Feodoranova, Bowes Lion Belanoff. So Bowes Lion, if you think that sounds familiar, Camilla Bowes Lion, Prince Charles's wife. So born May 1st, 1953, in a British aristocrat, born at Glamis Castle, Scotland, a well-known location to veteran Illuminati researchers. She shared a strong bond with the late Queen Mother and is a favourite cousin of Queen Elizabeth II. With the hierarchy of the British nobility, she holds the rank of Countess, having been granted that title by Queen Elizabeth II in 1979, when she was appointed to represent the UK in the House of Wetton's upper chamber. Her official title is Countess of Banbury and Arran. It says when she got into that position, she started to change things very quickly, and basically she's a real elitist, and she hates anyone who is not an elitist. She even despises, you know, the Rothschilds and all these people because she says they are not, you know, of blood, of heritage. They're not, you know, they're lower. Yeah, she's a real piece of work, this one. As a child, she was known to spook family members and guests with casual, factual statements about long-dead relatives who had died in Glamis Castle, often referring to them by nicknames used for them when they were alive. On one occasion, according to Princess Margaret, when Belanoff was 8 years old, she joined a grown-up card game, played extremely well, winning several hands. When the astonished adults asked her how she learned to play so well, she replied she had been playing cards on a regular basis with Earl Beatty in a hidden room within the castle since she was 3 years old. Earl Beatty can beat the devil at cards, she announced, and sometimes I can beat the devil too. Earl Beatty is a distant relative of the current royal family who lived in the castle in 1486, or died in 1486. And it starts to get weird. I'll let you read through this. There's this occult stuff. You know, she's been speaking to spirits and stuff since she was very young. She says she's not afraid of the devil. I've met your devil, sir, and frankly I was not impressed. Lucifer is a third-rate demonic entity who relies on his biblical fame in an attempt to hold onto power. The pathetic fool once offered to give me the world on a silver platter in return for my mortal soul. I told him I already have the world, I have the silver platter, and I have no need of your silly trinkets. I told him if he annoyed us further I would take his eyes out, and he left. I was 13 years old. And then it goes into the lost city of Hamlin, and how on every year on the anniversary she posts in Glamis is Calling, or whatever website she's got. It's been so many years since the children have gone. which is interesting because that was about 700 years ago, as far as we can tell. The Pied Piper, or not the Pied Piper, the Piper of Hamelin, the Lost Children of Hamelin. Now it says, was this where it was? Her ancestor. So he lived, they say, the 1400s. So this is all evidence as well. This is all in there. You can read all this about that. Okay, so Earl Beatty, this guy apparently died 1486. So that is, what's that say, 1500. So we've got 650 years ago. So it's in the vicinity. If you click on this, Earl Beatty, they've got links in here for you. It takes you to Wikipedia. Earl Beatty died 1453, and there is a story. The legend says there's several versions, but they all involve Earl Beatty playing cards. However, it was the Sabbath, and either the host refused to play or a servant advised him to stop. Lord Beatty became so furious that he claimed that he would play until doomsday or with the devil himself. Depending on the version, a stranger then appears at the castle, joins Lord Beatty in a in a game of cards. The stranger is identified with the devil, who takes Earl Beatty's soul, and in some versions condemns the Earl to play cards until doomsday. So the cards are in there, the 1450 date, but then down here other traditions say he was someone else, and it may have been around 1034. But basically it's within the vicinity of that 700-year window for the Piper of Hamelin, this guy. So what I'm wondering is, she's obviously in contact with demonic entities, which I would call, the parasites, the archons. This is who these entities are. They seem to control, they tap onto people, they control them, and they do it generationally. This is how we have these families of who like to call themselves elites, and they basically they're weak people that can be taken over easy, and so it makes it easier for the entities to control them. And so this Somerset person is in this castle that's got all this occult stuff. Occult stuff's been going on there forever. And it looks like, she's either befriended these entities, they've taken her over. She's probably had them since birth because of her bloodline, and now she's being ruled by them. And it looks like they may be the people, associated with the child stealing back 700 years ago. Now, this person is also the cousin of Queen Elizabeth II, and we all know, well, a lot of us know in Canada back in the 50s, early 60s, child stealing, Queen Elizabeth II clearly in there. Obviously, we all know about the Grand Old Duke of York, her pedophile son, and the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing. So this whole children thing is all in there. Now, it gets worse, guys. One thing I'll just quickly show you, because we've got that Camilla Parker Bowles link as well, and Prince Charles, and all this stuff. Now, if we type in here, Prince Charles and Vlad. Now, hopefully this is still up. Here we go, yeah. So this is Prince Charles, heir to Dracula's bloodline, The Telegraph. This was a few years ago. The Romanian Tourist Board is to use links between the British royal family and Count Dracula to lure in UK tourists, it has emerged. Until now, its lonely mountains have been synonymous with the legend of the vampire, the cruel ruler who drank his victims' blood, terrified his enemies, and could turn into a bat at will. But Transylvania should also be known as the ancestral home of the Prince of Wales, a defender of faiths with a love of gardening and classical architecture. According to the Romanian National Trust Office, links between the royal family and Vlad the Impaler, the 15th century nobleman whose deeds inspire the vampire legend, are being exploited in an attempt to lure tourists. The prince himself appears in a video being used to promote the country, which he claims a distant kingship with Vlad. Okay, so he's a direct descendant of Vlad the Impaler, who is Dracula. That's Dracula. Now, like they said, there's a video. Alright, okay, I found the clip that I was looking for. And we'll just get up to Prince Charles.
So vital to the survival Jews. His passion for this area is helping to redefine its importance.
Up here. Okay, here we go, guys. Let's have a listen to what Prince Charles says about Vlad the Impaler, who is Dracula. Okay, so I'm just going to rewind that. Now he's in Transylvania being interviewed. This is the castle of Vlad the Impaler. Now I'm just going to turn this up a bit because it's a bit quiet. Whoops.
The genealogy shows that I'm descended from Vlad the Impaler. So I do have a bit of a stake in the country.
As it were.
Haha, a bit of a stake in the country. Haha, nice vampire joke there, Charlie. Alright, so there you go. That was Prince Charles admitting he's related to Dracula, and he seemed pretty happy about it too, didn't he? So, okay. Gets worse, guys. I just want to show you a few more things. Now, it says down here, I think, where we go to welcome, that, oh, sorry, this is the wrong, it's on Glamis Calling. If we go to glamouscallingagain.org, gosh, it's a bit scary going here. I mean, don't stress out, there'll be so many people going here at the moment, because it's blowing up. And if we come down here, information, blah, 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 and it says that you can leave a message somewhere. Oh, here. About Glamis Calling. Glamis Calling web. This site is managed by Karina Belanoff. This is the daughter of Somerset Belanoff. Karina Belanoff, Lord High Governor and Director of Tower Protocols at the World Governing Council. Okay, now this is where it gets a bit strange. Alright, so we're going to do a search for Miss Karina Belanov. This is the more information. Doesn't really say a lot. Let's check out her eyes. Okay, Karina Belanov. Okay. Cannibal Cravings at the Hollydale. Karina Belanov Twitter. Has an elite cannibal restaurant been discovered in Los Angeles 4 days ago? Sol asked. Where are the cannibals of LA owned by Karina Belanov? Facebook. Q. We are the cannibals of LA owned by Karina. Alright, so let's click on, this is Twitter. This is her Twitter account. And there, you know, it's just out there. But this is the thing, unless you know what to look for, someone just stumbled across that Glamis Calling site, but unless you know what you're looking for, you would never find these sites. But someone did, and they've posted it, and of course it's all around. One other thing I'll just show you about Karina Belanov, if you hit images, there's only one of her. These are all different people. Now, I did this, I was actually on, because I'm on Google now, this is actually Google, but I was on a different search engine last time, and I literally got 4 pictures. It was her and this. And the other one was, I wonder if it's down here, it was a write-up, which was very strange, but we'll run into it. But Cannibal Cravings at the Hollydale. This is Karina, daughter of Somerset Belanov, proprietor of Cannibal Cravings at the Hollydale Electoral General Wetting World Council, Governing Council. This gets pretty gross, guys. Celebrate alliance with Amish Underground Brotherhood by joining us at the Hollydale for the witching event. 8 riches will be eaten for our eternal nourishment. So very happy to have the Kentucky Viper Militia leadership with us to celebrate our 4th year. The KVM wants to remind everyone they are not racist and they are pro-government. Yes, they're violent criminals with a taste for cannibalism, but they're behaving themselves tonight. Just weird stuff, guys. It's just freaky to even be on these sites. You know, once you put a name, you'll find all this stuff. I'll leave a few links below if you want to check it all out. You know, there's Facebook. We are the, you know, it's starting to pop up everywhere. There's even, there's a menu. It says that her website is, what is it? Humans are food or something. This bloody Karina. Cannibal Crave, that must be down here somewhere. Facebook. Let's see what we've got. We are the Cannibals of LA, owned by Karina Belanoff. Oh, this is under Q Patriot. So this is, I think it was Q who released this first of all. Or I'm not sure. Someone found it on Twitter, and then Q's gone a lot on and released a lot of information. Cannibal Cravings, and you can see the email here is peoplearemeat.com. Now that is a website as well. So if we put in here, it's pretty peoplearemeat.com. I know, it's freaking me out too, guys. It's a WordPress site. It's a protected blog. This is marked private by its owner. If you would like to view it, you'll need permission from the site owner. You can request here and we'll send you a username. So you can't get into it. Okay, so, and there's just, I mean, I don't want to go, but there's so much evidence, and there's all these people who are being found who are saying they're cannibals. There's a menu you can find for this, which is disgusting. And then there's this whole write-up on where they get these people from when they say that they're volunteers. Basically, they put them in like some kind of competition, and the survivor gets to go free or something, and everyone else gets eaten. Apparently, they put them in with like wild dogs and bears to fight them and stuff. Just weird stuff, but guys, this is the kind of stuff we've been hearing about for years, as far as the elites and, you know, what they get up to, you know, behind closed doors, and satanic, you know, rituals, you know, pedophilia, cannibalism, you know, as far as the way they raise their children, they abuse the shit out of their children, they try and fracture their psyche, and then of course they start wars, they kill us, genocide, all this stuff, all this control. So this, even though it seems weird, if you think about it in the context, what else would you expect? Of course they eat people. What have they been doing for the last few hundred years? You know? And of course they don't see us as living entities and free people. They see us as cattle. What do humans do with cattle? Alright, so just to finish off, I know, because it's a bit, I've been going on a while here, but I just sort of wanted to get this out. It's just, like I said, there's so much you can find. If you want to spend some time looking into it, there is so much. Check out Q on Facebook. There's Reddit stuff. There's Twitter stuff. Has an elite cannibal restaurant been discovered in LA? According to Slightly Shocked Americans, an advertising site for a wonderful super elite restaurant in LA has appeared on the network, which, as it has turned out, has been operating since 2015. Established in 2015, the Hollydale is a purveyor of the finest human flesh, harvested fresh from only the most attractive, willing donors, skillfully and reverently prepared by the world's class master chef. And here we have the menu and all the stuff, and write-ups, how they cook it, how they get their meat. It's pretty freaky. Now, one more thing I want to show you, and this is to do with the mother, the Somerset, who is the head of the Illuminati. Assault on Golden Dawn sorcerers. So, always critical of Aleister Crowley and his associates, Miss Belanoff, this is Somerset, the mother, is said to have referred to Crowley's Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn as the Pathetic Order of the Golden Yawn. In the summer of 1969, she was introduced to former Crowley colleagues in what turned out to be a sort of sorcery showdown that brought about the destruction of the resurrected order. Led Zeppelin manager Peter Grant recounted the story to the weekly British music magazine Melody Maker. So I'm just going to click on this link. Melody Maker was a British weekly music magazine founded in 1926. In 2000 it was merged, and it says it was big in the back in the 50s and 60s in the music scene. Now they don't seem to have a link to this actual interview, but it's pretty spun out. This is apparently an interview with Peter Grant. And it says, one day we all went to Hampstead because we all know Jimmy Page was into the occult. There's all these things, you know, if you play, I think it's Stairway, if you play it backwards, it says something about the wooden shed. He found us in the wooden shed, and Aleister Crowley had his house apparently was called the Wooden Shed. And then it says also that Stairway to Heaven was written about Somerset Belanoff. So just quickly, that they took her out, Somerset, and they went and saw some of, you know, Crowley's friends, because Jimmy Page was into it and also was Somerset, and they used to get into a cult and play games with each other, try and move each other's chairs and things. So they got to this place, and she and Jimmy had always been about equal in their abilities, and these old guys were like real old school sorcerers. Straight away, they started moving their hands. So what happened? They had a challenge, and they sat there and said, let's start moving, you know, so you can move our chairs. So straight away, the old guys started moving their hands around in the air. You can see that Lilibet's chair, that's what they called Somerset, because her actual real name is Elizabeth. Chair started to shake. Like I said, Jimmy and I were both very protective of her, so we were pretty freaked out. Jimmy and I both decided to get up from our chairs and end this, but we couldn't move. We couldn't stand. We couldn't even move our hands. At first, when they did this, you could see Lilibet's face, and she had a shocked look, but then she relaxed and got a smile on her face. She's very grey in her colour. The other thing everyone notices, it starts to feel really fucking cold in the house, excuse my French. Now you have to remember it's the middle of July, and it's one of those hot muggy nights in London. All of a sudden it gets really, really, really cold, and I mean, the temperature dropped so quickly, and it was like Siberia cold. It's getting worse, getting colder, and then the old guys started complaining, I can't feel my hands. Every window and everything made of glass had frost on it. Now we could see our breath, all except Lilibet, who is Somerset. She appeared to be totally relaxed and not visibly frost-breathing at all. As it gets colder and colder, the guys start to panic, but they're unable to get up from their chairs. Then Lilibet stands up, throws her arms into the air, and at that very moment, everything made of glass explodes, including the spectacles of the old sorcerer sitting on my left. Absolutely beautiful century-old stained glass windows. Every piece of china in the house, which has been frozen, just explodes. And the right hand that one of the sorcerers had been complaining he couldn't feel, I swear to Christ, as I sit here, the bones inside his hand had just shattered as though they had been made of glass, and his hand was a bloody pulp. So they had this sorcery showdown, and they tried to, you know, they said, you know, let's sit down and see who can move each other's chairs. These two followers of Aleister Crowley were older, and they sort of decided they would teach her a lesson. One of them started choking her, and she, you just heard what I read. Froze the room, blew it all up, and then she walked out. Several months later, she and I were driving together and my car broke down in a really dangerous, dodgy part of London. Lilibet said to me, "Don't worry, Peter, I won't let anything happen to you." And it does get into Led Zeppelin. Apparently her birthday is the 1st of May, so they used to call her the May Queen because she was from a castle, obviously, and she's climbing the stairway to heaven. So if you have a look at that as well, I think it's on this site, but they go into into it and how Led Zeppelin used to know her and basically how it was written about her. And if you read through the lyrics and you read through some of those posts on Glamorous Calling, you will find out that there's lots of similarities. It can all take on a whole new meaning, and of course we've got that reversed bit if you play it backwards with Jimmy Page, talking about Crowley and the woodshed. So, one last thing. This is Glamis Castle. So Glamis Castle, this is where she grew up and where she still lives. And that's obviously Glamis Calling. Glamis Castle is situated beside the village of Glamis. It's the home to the Earl and Countess of Strathmore and Kingholm, and it's open to the public. Glamis Castle has been the home of the Lyon family since the 14th century, though the present building dates largely from the 7th century. Glamis was the childhood home of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and King George VI. Their second daughter, Princess Margaret, Countess of Snowdon, was born there. So this is a big royal place, and it says down here it's the most haunted castle. It's noted, intricately carved, picturesque stone. So it's been around since 1034, rebuilt as they all were. Might not be down here. Oh, the monster of Glamis. The famous legend connected to the castle is that of the monster of Glamis, a hideous deformed child born to the family. Some accounts came from the singer and composer Virginia Gabriel, who stayed in the castle in 1870. In the story, the monster was kept in the castle all of his life, and his suite of rooms bricked up after his death. Another monster is supposed to have dwelt in the loch holder near the castle. So there's all stories about all these, the devil and the card player, monsters. There is a very old story that guests staying in Glamis once hung towels from their windows on every room in a bid to find the bricked up suite of the monster. Where they looked at it from outside, several windows were apparently towelless. Earl of Beatty, so all this stuff, and this is it. And then it's got archives. The clock tower houses the castle's archives, which include a wide range of historical material relating to the castle and the Bowes and Lyons families. These include a papal bull and the memoirs of Mary Eleanor Bowes. The Glamis archives have a close connection with the archives of the University of Dundee, and researchers who wish to consult material held in the Glamis Castle archive do so in the search room at the university. Mary Eleanor Bowes was known as the Unhappy Countess. Notorious for her licentious lifestyle, she was married at one time to the 9th Earl of Strathmore. So there's all these, big occult knowledge, all these weird people, all this occult stuff, all this just... And like I said, I've just skimmed the surface, guys, because it gets pretty gross. All this cannibalism and stuff, and you look into it, it's just all pedophile, child trafficking. When you read some of the quotes by this Somerset person, Somerset Berendoff, is that what it is? Belanoff, she's a freak. Prince Charles, she's my cousin actually, and I can't think of anyone I'd rather have by my side in times of difficulty, or anyone I'd rather not have on the other side. David Rockefeller, Lady Somerset Belanoff taught me the value of letting go of my pride and the wisdom of respectfully retreating so you can live another day. And this is also, if you look through this site, we've got Vladimir Putin, Prince Charles, David Rockefeller, Rothschilds, Donald Trump. She knows them all. They all know it. Donald Trump, smart, tough lady, and we've had very good conversations, very productive. It's a great partnership and will accomplish great things. Very great things. Somerset Belknap, in 1977, when asked by a reporter of the far-left-leaning magazine The Leveller how she felt about being referred to as the Witch of Glamis Castle, she said, "Oh, sweetie, I'm much worse than a witch. I sometimes eat witches for lunch." And here's this one. Again, Somerset Belknap. The newly rich widget sellers were living in filthy mud huts, hovels, and dying of the plague for the last 1,000 years while we were literally managing the affairs of the world. At least the civilized part of it. This is Somerset, so this is how she sees herself in the elites. This is her talking about people like the Rothschilds. To her, they were filthy mud hut, hovel-dwelling people dying of the plague. You know, Lucifer, she's met the devil, she's not scared of him. So there you go. I know we started off with 2020 and we sort of end up with this, but I just wanted to point out that this has all come out this month. You know, the Max Eigen videos come out this month, Static in the Attic come out this month, this information's come out this month. Global Vision has started his videos looking for, you know, who the actual predators, who the rulers are. So like I said, a lot of other content creators have touched on this as well. So I can think we're going to have a lot of big news this year, a lot of disclosure. There's also going to be a lot of misinformation coming out. So it is the year to be autodidactic, guys, to educate yourself, and more than that, to learn to trust yourself and your instincts, because at every step of the way, there's going to be entities and people out there trying to persuade us, you know, to change our minds, and that certain things are false, and we should believe this, and we should believe that, and that this is impossible, and that's not possible. And this is across everything. It's going to be the media everywhere. And of course, on top of this, the tail end of last year, we had YouTube coming out saying that they're going to start basically cutting channels that they think, that, you know, they've put it all behind child protection. And actually, one other person I did want to mention is New Earth Channel. Guys, if you haven't discovered New Earth Channel, please check her out. She does amazing work, Sylvia, and she's being taken down at the moment. She's got over 100,000 subscribers. She's got so much work. They have taken down her whole series, When the Survivors Wake Up. That was almost 40, it may have been over 40 parts, 40 episodes. Some over an hour long. It was a ton of work. It was amazing work. And it's been taken down, and what they've done is they've said it's on, because of some of the photos that she showed, they're trying to get her on copyright. They're basically saying, well, you showed this photo, so, and this is photos they can't prove where she got them from, because most of these photos are on multiple sites, and they're not worrying about anyone else but her. And they're telling her that she has to pay something like $7,000 per image, per every time it's used. So obviously, or take it down. So she's had to take the whole lot down. And this is going to be happening more and more, guys. So, like I said, I'm working on getting a website up. I've got to work out who to host it by. I don't want to host it by WordPress anymore, because they're hosting Glam is Calling and, you know, Humans Are Meat, that bloody restaurant. So yeah, I need to find out where to do that. I'm trying to get all my videos up on BitChute as well, but keep your eyes out for that. A lot of channels are going to start disappearing. We're going to have to find our own networks this year. A lot of stuff's going to happen. So that's 2020, and we're only a month, or not even a month in. So there's my views, guys. Went a bit long. Hope you found something interesting there. Like I said, I'll leave all the links below. Thanks for spending some time with me. Have an amazing day. And guys, don't stress about this stuff. It's a journey. You know, life is the dream. You know, reality is when we wake up. So this is the dream. We're here to learn. We're here to discover and work things out. If you focus on the bad, all you will do is help the bad to get more energy. So let's focus on what we want this year. Okay. I shall catch you on the next upload. Have an amazing day. Bye for now.